Brock Lesnar just showed up on SmackDown unannounced and uninvited, stomping through that arena like he owns the entire WWE universe. And guess what? Nobody could do a single thing to stop him. The Beast Incarnate walked into Friday Night SmackDown exactly 24 hours before his collision with John Cena at WrestlePalooza, and decided that waiting until the pay-per-view wasn't good enough for him. He needed to send a message right now, and that message was delivered with absolute brutality. Before we get into the insanity that unfolded, smash that subscribe button because you're about to witness why Brock Lesnar is the most dangerous human being to ever step foot in a WWE ring and why SmackDown will never be the same again. After what happened tonight, the show started like any normal Friday night broadcast with the usual opening package and pyrotechnics lighting up the arena. Fans were settled and expecting a typical SmackDown episode. The commentators were talking about upcoming matches and building anticipation for wrestling. Everything seemed routine and predictable. Then suddenly Brock Lesnar's music hit and the entire building lost their minds. Nobody expected this. Lesnar wasn't scheduled to appear on. He wasn't advertised. There were no hints or teases throughout the week. WWE kept this completely under wraps, and when that music blasted through the speakers, shockwaves rippled through the audience. People jumped out of their seats. Jaws dropped. Cameras started flashing everywhere as everyone scrambled to capture this moment. Brock Lesnar emerged from behind the curtain with Paul Heyman by his side, and the look on his face told you everything you needed to know. He wasn't there to talk. He wasn't there to shake hands or play nice. He was there to destroy. Lesnar marched down that ramp with purpose and intensity that only he can deliver. His eyes were locked straight ahead, scanning the ring and the entire arena like a predator searching for prey. Paul Heyman was talking, but nobody could hear him over the deafening reaction from the crowd. Half the audience was chanting his name, while the other half was booing him out of the building. The atmosphere was electric and volatile. When Lesnar reached the ring, he didn't climb through the ropes like a normal wrestler. He launched himself over the top rope in one explosive motion, landing in the center of the ring with a thud that you could feel in your chest. That right there showed everyone that Brock came ready for war. He stood in the middle of the ring, rotating slowly, taking in every corner of the arena, while Paul Heyman grabbed a microphone. This was about to get real. Paul Heyman started his promo, and you know when Heyman talks, everyone listens. He reminded the WWE Universe that his client Brock Lesnar is not just any superstar. He's not someone you schedule or control. He's a force of nature that goes wherever he wants, whenever he wants. Heyman declared that Brock didn't need permission from management to show up on He doesn't answer to Adam Pearce or Nick Aldis or anyone else in WWE corporate. Brock Lesnar does what Brock Lesnar wants, and tonight he wanted to make sure John Cena understood exactly what's waiting for him at WrestlePalooza. The crowd started buzzing because everyone realized this was personal. This wasn't about championships or accolades. This was about Brock wanting to hurt John Cena, and he couldn't wait one more day to make that clear. Heyman continued building the intensity, explaining that tomorrow night at Brock is going to remind everyone why he's called the Beast Incarnate and why John Cena's comeback tour is about to come to a crashing halt. Then things took an unexpected turn. The SmackDown general manager appeared on the screen backstage, clearly panicked and frustrated. He demanded that Brock Lesnar leave the building immediately because he's not a SmackDown superstar and he has no business being there. He threatened to call security and have Brock forcibly removed. That was a huge mistake. You don't threaten Brock Lesnar. You don't tell him what to do. The camera cut back to Brock in the ring, and his expression shifted from intense to absolutely livid. He looked at Paul Heyman and then looked directly at the camera with this terrifying grin that sent chills down everyone's spine. Without saying a single word, Brock dropped the microphone and exited the ring. For a brief moment, people thought maybe he was actually going to leave. Maybe he got what he wanted and would save the rest for WrestleMania. That hope lasted about 5 seconds before Brock started walking up the ramp toward the backstage area, and everyone realized what was about to happen. He was going hunting. The cameras followed Brock as he stormed through the backstage corridors. Crew members scattered like roaches when the lights turned on. Superstars who were getting ready for their matches quickly disappeared into locker rooms and locked the doors. Nobody wanted any part of what was coming. Brock was shouting John Cena's name, demanding that he show himself. He was flipping over equipment cases and slamming doors open, searching for his WrestlePalooza opponent. The entire backstage area descended into chaos. Security guards tried to form a barrier, but Brock walked straight through them like they were made of paper. He shoved one guard into a wall. He grabbed another and literally threw him across the hallway. These weren't trained wrestlers. These were regular security personnel who had no chance against someone like Brock Lesnar. The whole scene felt dangerous and out of control, like we were watching something that wasn't supposed to happen on live television. Brock finally reached the locker room area and started pounding on doors. He was screaming for John Cena to come out and face him. The tension was suffocating because you didn't know if Cena was even in the building. SmackDown isn't his show anymore since he's been doing sporadic appearances. But then the door to one locker room slowly opened and out stepped not John Cena, but several SmackDown superstars who decided they had to stop this madness. A group of wrestlers formed a wall between Brock and the rest of the backstage area. They told him, "This ends now." They said he needs to leave before this gets worse. Brock looked at them and laughed. He actually laughed at the idea that they could stop him. What happened next was an absolute massacre. Brock Lesnar fought off multiple wrestlers at once, delivering suplexes and F5 South to anyone who got close. Bodies were flying everywhere. The camera work was shaky and frantic, trying to capture all the action. Referees and producers tried to break it up, but they just became collateral damage. In less than 2 minutes, Brock Lesnar had dismantled half the SmackDown roster by himself, and he still wasn't done. Just when it seemed like nothing could contain the beast, John Cena's music hit. The arena erupted because finally the man Brock was looking for had arrived. Cena came sprinting through the backstage area, heading straight for Brock. The camera angles switched rapidly between Cena running through the halls and Brock waiting for him with this look of satisfaction. When they finally collided, it was like two freight trains crashing head-on. They started throwing punches immediately. No fancy wrestling moves, no technical chain wrestling, just pure violence. They brawled through the backstage, knocking over catering tables and crashing into production equipment. Sparks flew when they slammed into electrical boxes. Coffee and food went everywhere. The entire crew was running for safety while Cena and Lesnar tried to destroy each other. Security finally arrived in massive numbers, and it took at least 20 people to separate them. They pulled Brock in one direction and Cena in the other, but both men were still trying to break free and get at each other. The hatred was real. The intensity was off the charts. This wasn't acting. This was two competitors who genuinely wanted to hurt each other. The implications of this brawl are enormous. First of all, Brock proved once again that rules don't apply to him. He crashed a show he wasn't supposed to be on and single-handedly created the biggest segment of the night. Second, the SmackDown roster just got embarrassed. Multiple superstars tried to stop Brock, and they all failed miserably. How do they recover from that? How do they show their faces next week knowing that one man walked through all of them like they were nothing? Third, and most importantly, the landscape heading into WrestlePalooza just shifted dramatically. Everyone thought they knew what to expect from Lesnar versus Cena, but after tonight, all predictions are out the window. The animosity between these two has reached a boiling point, and when they finally get locked inside that ring tomorrow night with a referee and rules, it's going to be complete carnage. John Cena came back to WWE for one more run at glory, but Brock Lesnar is determined to make sure that run ends in pain and humiliation. Social media exploded immediately after this segment aired. Fans couldn't believe what they just witnessed. Wrestling journalists were scrambling to get statements from WWE officials. Everyone wanted to know if this was planned or if Brock legitimately went off script. The beauty of moments like this is that the line between reality and performance gets so blurred that you can't tell what's real anymore. That's what makes wrestling magical. That's what creates those unforgettable moments that people talk about for years. Brock Lesnar crashing SmackDown is going to be replayed on highlight packages forever. It's going to be referenced in video packages for future feuds. It's the kind of segment that reminds casual fans why they love this business and brings lapsed fans back to the product. The unpredictability and chaos are intoxicating. You can't script genuine emotion, and what we saw tonight felt raw and authentic. Now, let's talk about what this means for John Cena specifically. He's been on a redemption tour trying to prove he still belongs at the top of WWE. He's been cutting promos about respect and legacy and all the things he's accomplished. But Brock Lesnar doesn't care about any of that. Brock sees John Cena as an obstacle, and obstacles get demolished. Cena is going to have to dig deeper than he ever has before if he wants to survive WrestleMania. The physical beating he took tonight was just a preview. Imagine what happens when they have 30 minutes in the ring with no interruptions. Cena is tough and resilient, but Brock is a different kind of beast. He's faster than people his size should be. He's stronger than seems humanly possible. And most dangerously, he's motivated by something primal that you can't coach or teach. Brock wants to hurt people, and he's exceptionally good at it. John Cena is walking into the biggest challenge of his career, and after what happened on SmackDown, he has to be questioning whether he's ready for it. The entire SmackDown locker room is also dealing with the aftermath of this chaos. The superstars who tried to stop Brock and failed are going to have damaged egos. Some of them might seek revenge. Some might try to use this moment to prove they're tougher than Brock thinks. Others might just stay out of his way entirely. The power dynamics on SmackDown just shifted because Brock demonstrated that nobody on that roster can touch him. That creates an interesting situation moving forward. Does WWE management fine Brock for his actions? Do they try to ban him from future shows? Or do they embrace the chaos because it creates compelling television? Based on history, WWE will probably use this to build even more heat and generate more interest in future storylines. Controversy creates cash, and what happened tonight was extremely controversial. Paul Heyman's role in all of this cannot be overlooked either. He's the perfect advocate for Brock because he can articulate the thoughts and motivations that Brock himself doesn't need to verbalize. Heyman adds layers to Brock's character. He makes Brock feel more complete as a performer. When Heyman talks about Brock's dominance and superiority, it doesn't come across as empty boasting because Brock backs up every word with action. Tonight proved that yet again. Heyman said Brock goes where he wants and does what he wants, and then Brock proceeded to do exactly that. The partnership between these two is one of the greatest in wrestling history because it works on every level. Heyman gets heat for Brock. Brock makes Heyman look like a genius. Together, they create moments that transcend typical wrestling storytelling. Tomorrow night at WrestlePalooza, the world is going to be watching when Brock Lesnar and John Cena finally settle this in the ring. The build-up has been perfect. The tension is at maximum levels. After tonight, there are no more questions about whether both men are ready. They're beyond ready. They're hungry for this fight. The question now is, what happens when the bell rings? Does Brock continue his path of destruction and obliterate Cena in front of the world? Or does John Cena somehow find a way to overcome the beast and prove that heart and determination can defeat raw power? We're going to find out, and it's going to be spectacular. This is why we watch wrestling. This is why we get invested in these stories. Because when it's done right, when the performers commit fully to their characters and the company builds the anticipation correctly, you get moments that feel larger than life. Subscribe to this channel right now because the fallout from tonight and tomorrow is going to create content for weeks. We'll be breaking down every detail of the WrestlePalooza match. We'll analyze what this means for both superstars moving forward. We'll discuss potential future opponents and storylines. The wrestling landscape just shifted, and you want to be part of the conversation as we navigate through all of it together.